What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's your pal, Steve Witchell, founder of Cover Band Central. It is Monday, November 25th, and we are doing a special exclusive interview today with Black Box Prompter co-founder Tori Smith, who has come up with a great solution for all y'all out there playing music. Now, this topic comes up all of the time, almost every day in the Cover Band Central Facebook group about iPads on stage and how many people feel it's a distraction to the audience watching a band and watching band members or singers specifically look at their iPads to read lyrics while they're performing. And me as a performer, I understand it from a usage standpoint as a tool, and as a fan of watching bands, I understand the argument too that it's a distraction for people. So these guys, these geniuses, came up with a great solution called Black Box Prompter, and we're going to bring him in a second and talk to him. And he's got a whole presentation to show you what it's like. But I've used this now for several months. Tori was kind enough to get me a unit to use with my band because I am a performer. I work weekly in New Orleans, and I love it. It is an excellent tool, and that's what it is. It's a tool. It's not replacing your need to learn your songs. You still need to learn songs and learn words, but there's every professional uses tools to help the performance. You could tell somebody that they need to learn to tune by ear. Sure, that's great, but most professionals use a tuner, so to make sure you're in tune. And there's a lot of different tools that bands use, musicians use to enhance their performance, to make it more professional. And if you see the pros, and Tori's going to show you this, if you see the pros out there, they all use some kind of tool to help them to remember lyrics. There's teleprompters on stage in many locations for some of the bigger bands. They're all over the stage. So this is a solution for us who play in the clubs, play in the bars and stuff, and don't want to have an iPad in front of our face. We want to have something that's out of the way, but still provides us a tool with which to use. So we're going to bring in Tori right now, and he's going to tell us all about it. What's up, Tori? Thanks for joining.
Hey, Steve.
Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking the time out to show this thing to the Cover Band Central audience. And as a member of the group, and I know you've been a member of the group for a long time, that this conversation comes up all of the time.
All the time.
And all the time. And it's hotly debated. It's there's spirited debates about this. But as I said there in the intro, if you're a professional, you use what you need to use to get the job done. And in many cases, and we'll talk about it, but there's many cases where you need you need some help. And in my case, for instance, and you saw this yesterday, Tori was kind enough to come see my band play yesterday. In many cases, and my band takes requests all the time. And many cases we get requests of songs that we don't necessarily play all the time. So we need a little bit of an aid. And this, the Black Box Prompter provides that aid with not only lyrics, but with chords. As you saw, my, keyboard player was frantically trying to come up, figure out what the chords were for a song. And, having a tool like this is just fantastic for us and for any professional working band out there. So, Tori's got a whole slideshow presentation that we're going to bring up. But before we get into that, just tell everybody how you first got the idea for this.
Yeah. So, you've been in the, in the cover band scene for years. I've been in it for, 10 plus years myself. And ever since the onset of an iPad or an iPhone, it seems like everyone's now gravitating towards that. And when I'm not out there gigging, my wife and I will go to a show in the Dallas area and watch some of our friends' bands. And my friends' bands, they all have them. In fact, I'm going to show you guys a picture that I actually took of my friend's band leaning into it. And I would just see it time and time again. I was in Nashville a few months ago. Every single musician had an iPhone in their face, every single one of them. And granted, they take requests, and I get that, but I was like, man, there's got to be a way, a better way, because having that iPhone or iPad constantly in your face, it's blocking your view. And so I looked to see what was out there. And there's a couple players in the market that have these teleprompters, but they're very, very simplistic. They just they didn't, a lot of them just showed like JPEG files, or image files. Didn't have a lot of functionality to it. You couldn't transpose your chords. As a guitar player, that's really important. You couldn't synchronize other boxes if you had multiple folks in the band that want to all be on the same page. And so it was lacking all this functionality. And I teamed up with a drummer friend of mine who is just a brilliant mind, who's got many years of software development experience. And I said, look, there's got to be a better way. So let's team up and let's see if we can build something where it's easy to use and highly functional for many different use cases as a working musician or even as a hobbyist, and what that would look like. And so so we launched back in the spring of this year. It's November 2024 right now if you're watching a recording of this. But we started back, I think, April, and then the very next month in May, we launched at the International Guitar Festival in Dallas. And it was one of the most popular booths there. And people were just like, wow. They kept saying, man, it's about time. It's about time. And here we are. And I got to tell you, I'm very proud of my business partner who has just worked his ass off building software and making this better and easier to use. And so we're going to get into that. So really, there's two pieces of today's talk I want to get into. The first half is really going to be talking a little bit about the need, what we're seeing in the market. And Steve, you've been on the front lines of Cover Band Central. We saw a post, even a few hours ago that just blew up overnight because somebody, how dare they post the question, is it unprofessional to have an iPhone in your face, And of course, a lot of folks, it's a very hot topic, as most of you guys know.
It's a very hot topic. Yeah.
Within 5 hours, there was like 200 comments. It was crazy.
Yeah. And I know, as you mentioned, your partner is, a guru with this stuff. And I know as a user of Black Box Prompter that there are constant updates. They are constantly, ever since the launch, improving it, making it, listening to user feedback and making it better. And seemingly overnight, it's just like, okay, you can update it again. And what's great about the actual unit is you just go on there when there's an update, you just hit update software and it does it, within minutes. And then you have the brand new version of it right there. So it's not like you have to wait a long time. It's not like you have to get a special email or download or anything. You just do it right on the unit itself. And one other thing I want to mention, and I'm sure you'll go through it too, but this is not just for reading lyrics. The teleprompter can be used for many different things, just like an iPad or an iPhone on stage can be used for many different things. And the critics out there say, well, you need to learn the lyrics. It's not always about just reading lyrics. I mean, on my Black Box at my gig, we have our song list, and you're not reading the song list. It's there. So, and the way my band works is we don't have a set list. We call songs on the fly. And like I said, we take requests a lot too. So having it right there on a big screen where everybody else on the stage can see it really helps us out a lot. Instead of it just being in one person's face, like what are the songs on the list? Now it's here. Everybody can see it on stage. And it's so much easier to go through and pick songs and keep the show rolling. And that's the idea. You want to keep it moving and, have a professional show. And this really helps us do that.
Yep, exactly.
So if you're ready, I will give you the floor and you can start your presentation here. Anybody has questions, let us know, put it in the comments, and we will address them as they come or when we're able to answer the questions. And there's also a link in the description if you want to get a head start, and just click right there, blackboxprompter.com, and go check it out. And you can get yourself a unit right now without even waiting. But here it is. I'll put up your presentation and you have the floor, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve, and just thanks again for doing this, and really for your mission to help cover band folks from all around the world. Share insight, knowledge, best practices, stories, good, bad, and ugly. And so I love what you're doing. So keep it up, and yeah, thanks for having me. So let's get into it. First of all, can you guys see my screen that says how to remove the iPhone distractions?
Yeah, we can
see that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, then let's dive in. So just have a few slides, and then we're actually going to pull the curtain back and go into the software, so you guys can actually see what the software looks like and all the cool things you can do with it. Okay. Real quick, a little bit about me. I've got a marketing background. I played guitar for over 30 years. You could say I have an addiction to live music. I think most of us watching, we all share that addiction, right? Of course, big fan of Cover Band Central. And I actually manage and play in two pretty popular bands in the Dallas area. One's an 80s top 40, and another is a 90s country band. Both of those bands keep me pretty busy. But I want to just open us up real quick and share this meme. I'm sure you guys have seen this, most of you. And I didn't come up with this meme. I wish I did. This has been circulating on the internet for a number of months now. But it came back up recently, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is an issue, where people in the audience are tired of seeing the iPad or the iPhone in the face. They're done with it. They're just it's prevalent and doesn't need to be. And so this right here has really inspired me to again get that iPad out of the face, so we can have a better way. Now, I mentioned I was going to show a picture from my buddy's band. I didn't.
Oh my God.
This is a real picture, guys. This was not staged. In fact, these two gentlemen aren't in the band anymore, and I probably should have gotten their permission to use this, but I'm like, I'm going to use it. So I call it the three sins while we're on stage and performing. When you have an iPhone or an iPad in the face, it's the swiping, the squinting, and then the scrolling. When you're doing that as a performer, and you have two guys doing it right here. When you're doing that as a performer, it just, I don't know about you, but it takes away from the performance. It shifts your focus, and it's kind of like, then you start wondering, well, did they not do their homework? Did they not even try to learn the lyrics? And so I'm here to say there's no shame in having your lyrics readily available, but there's a difference in being glued to your iPad versus just glancing down for a split second to get that cue, that visual cue, and move on. There's a huge difference. Okay, it's subtle, but it's also very, very noticeable, as you can see here when you're literally trying this, like, what's that line? You're squinting, and yeah, you guys get it. And so, yeah, Steve was alluding to earlier, there's been this great debate ever since the iPhone and iPads came out. Hey, real pros, you guys have seen the comments, right? Real pros don't use teleprompters, learn your effing lyrics. And then on the other side, it's like, man, my memory's not what it used to be, or my vision's not, that great. I need something, bigger. Or I take requests and I don't have over 2,000 songs memorized, Steve, I think you guys got requested for, you got the request Dancing Queen yesterday, if I recall.
We did. Yeah.
And I was like, I was ready for you guys to whip it out. And I was like, man, we should have had Ultimate Guitar come up on the black box, which we can do. I'll talk about that in a minute. We can actually pull up a website, say Ultimate Guitar, and Ultimate Guitar has auto scroll where you hit a button and it starts scrolling for you. That could have been kind of like a last resort. So we'll talk about that too. But yeah, that was a great example of, man, didn't have that song ready to go, but had you had, at least the chord structure, you guys probably would have been able to fake it, wing it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. And for those critics out there who say, like, Dancing Queen's a very popular cover band song, I know that, but we are a rock band and we generally don't play ABBA. So that's our thing.
Yeah. So, but as I was saying, there's no shame in glancing at a prompter, guys. I think most of us, especially from the rock scene, we recognize this guy on my left. This is Mr. James Hetfield of Metallica. And James has been touring a long, long time, fills out arenas all around the world. They even played in Russia back in the day. even to this day, he's using a teleprompter. In fact, I'm about to release a brand new article that says 50 rock stars who have been known to rely on teleprompters, whether they're for lyrics or to see what songs coming up next in their set lists, that sort of thing. But I'm just trying to nip it in the bud and be like, hey, just because you use a teleprompter doesn't mean you're not delivering a professional performance, okay? Because most of the pros use them. Steven Tyler's been very, very vocal about using teleprompters as well. And so, so this is not an exhaustive list, but this is just to say, hey, it's common, and there's really no shame at having a teleprompter at your disposal. So really, my goal today is to help share with you guys, what our mission is. And at the end of the day, it's to give you guys the tool to do your best at every gig. So as this nice little graphic we put together that says, go from feeling distracted to performing with confidence. And the confidence is you have the lyrics, or if you're a guitarist, you know what chord's coming up next. You know how that bridge, how many of us as guitar players get hung up on the bridge when you don't play the song very often? It's like, where am I supposed to go? But with the prompter, you can quickly say, oh, okay, that's going into a minor, boom, and then you can immediately get into it very, very quickly. So, but again, notice it's a glance. It's a glance, not a be glued. That's the phrase I want to use it. So what exactly is the black box prompter? You guys have probably seen pictures of it by now. In short, it's what I call a smart lyrics and chords floor monitor. So from the audience's perspective, it looks like a speaker wedge. It's, this black paint is Duratex paint. If you're not familiar, that's the standard speaker paint that's used on all the major manufacturers. And so it looks just like a speaker wedge. It blends in with the floor. But it's a chords floor monitor in lyrics. It gives musicians the confidence to create a more powerful connection with their audience. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. And so all of the black box prompters now, you have some ports on the side. We have the HDMI port. We have 2 USB ports, power switch that you can toggle on and off. It comes with, this looks like a single foot pedal. This is actually 3 foot pedals. This is connected through a USB cord. So this right here, in fact, I was gonna actually show you, but I'll just show you right here because the camera's not on my face right now, so I'll just point it. But this right here on the left is previous. The big button in the middle is like hitting your enter key, that's select. And then the one on the right is to move forward. It's like a 3-button mouse in a way. And it's really that simple. You control all of this using this 3-button foot pedal, okay? We're now including keyboards and mice with every black box prompter. We're not charging extra for that. That's part of the bundle. And the reason for that is when you connect to Wi-Fi, you can easily connect your keyboard, punch in your Wi-Fi password. Much easier to do that rather than trying to punch it manually using a 3-button pedal, right? And then we have some new functionality where you can edit your set list or edit your song or create a new set list directly on the box without even getting a computer or laptop involved, without getting a USB thumb drive involved. You can create your set lists directly on the box. You can edit songs directly on the box. So it's less stuff that you have to load in to the gigs. And so that's why we've included the keyboard and mouse to help with that. So before I go any further into the software, I want to just open it up for questions real quick. Steve, has anybody chimed in with questions yet?
No questions. We did. I don't know if this person is Sandy. Is that that's your brother? Okay.
That is my brother. Hey, Sando.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Angus talked about, which is what everybody talks about in the group, is to learn the song. That is the argument. And Angus also said the only use for iPad is to adjust your monitor mix. That's not the only use for an iPad, but it's one use. No questions yet, so you can keep rolling.
Awesome. Okay. So real quick, I got a few snapshots of the guts of this thing. So what we're looking at here on the left, this is basically the shell. This is a 9-ply birch Baltic birch plywood, if I have that correct. So anyway, very, very durable, very, very strong wood that the motherboard and stuff are encased in. So this picture right here is a Raspberry Pi 4 motherboard that the software goes on. Then you have a power supply, and then you have your HDMI splitter as well. And notice how everything is zip tied. Everything is locked down and zip tied. So as things get carted around from gig to gig, or if it gets shipped from one location to the next, just know that the stuff inside, we have it tied down super tight, so it should not jostle around, get knocked loose, that sort of thing. In the very, very beginning, we had to make changes to our design to get it to where it is today, but it's come a long way to where everything is very, very tied down. So I do want to call that out. And then here back on the left, this plywood, this is actually a cover that obviously before we painted it, but on the opposite side are magnets. And so the magnetic cover is what protects the screen. We do have I call it a screen. It's really a shield. The shield's included. We don't charge extra for the protective shield. It's polycarbonate, so that's 30 times stronger than plexiglass. I had one of our customers, I think it was our customer Cause, if you're watching, he literally said a mic stand like came tumbling down on it, and it just bounced right off. It didn't phase it one bit. So this thing is very, very durable. You get drunk people tripping on it, falling on it, or whatever. It should, in theory, it should still be able to withstand that kind of beating. My business partner gets mad because I'll clench my fist and I'll try to pound on it and see, like, look, and he's like, don't do that. But I'm proving a point that, like, hey, the thing's solid. I mean, the construction on this thing has come a long way, and we're very, very proud of the design, the craftsmanship. While I'm on the subject, the folks in the warehouse who are assembling these by hand in Texas, right? The gentleman that runs the warehouse, he has over 40 years of woodworking experience. He's a master woodworker. And so we put a lot of attention, a lot of detail into these boxes to make sure it's a product that we're very, very proud of. So handcrafted in the U.S. Obviously there's some parts that they unfortunately have to come from China, but the vast majority of the parts are the U.S. and it's assembled here in the U.S. And not just the U.S. here in the North Texas area. So what I promised I would do is I'm going to shift gears and get into the software. So let me make sure you guys can still see my screen.
Yep.
Right on. Let's rock and roll here. So what we're looking at is this is the main menu. Now, if I were to turn the prompter on for the first time, you would see a startup screen. I probably should have opened up with that. In fact, I can go. I'm just going to pull up band photo so you guys can see. You guys can see that real quick. So what we're looking at here. Okay, I'm going to go to 17. So if I were to start the black box prompter, the very first thing you're going to see come up is the startup screen. Now, this screen is updatable, customizable. You can personalize it. You can add your own band logo. You can add multiple. You can have a whole library of photos and cherry pick which one you want to start up every time to give it that personal touch. I know a lot of customers like this feature because if they're on break, they like to resort to this screen as the placeholder image rather than a list, showing the lyrics,
right?
Because you don't want everybody necessarily know that you're using the lyrics. So then you can default to this as your placeholder image while you're on break, which is kind of cool, especially if it shows your own band logo. But I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here. Let me let's see. Let's go back to the main menu, and I'm just going to quickly go over. Let's see. Yeah. So number one, view set lists. You can have, I forget the number of set lists that you can have. It's hundreds or thousands. I don't remember the exact number. I have to double check what the website says because based on the memory and allocation, things like that, it keeps getting better. But you can have, I believe, thousands of set lists. at least 20,000 songs, maybe more, depending on how much space the songs take up. If they're text files, if they're PDFs, if they're graphical PDFs, those could eat up more space. We'll talk about that as well. But when you go into to view set lists, you have your list of set lists here. I typically would have, the date. Like I played a function called the Margarita Ball in Dallas the other night, and I had this on the stage, and it was very, very helpful. There's for today's demo, we're going to go into the set list demo. Before I do that, though, I do want to mention every song, and every song is just that. It's every song on the box listed in alphabetical order. So even if you didn't have a set list, or in Steve's case, they don't go by set lists, then, it's like, hey, I can quickly scroll to a particular song using my foot pedal. Makes it really easy. Yep. But let's, what was that?
Yeah, it makes it super easy, and it's easy to scroll using the foot pedal too, because you can actually hold it down and it scrolls super quick to whatever song you're looking for, and since it's in alphabetical order, it's easy to find.
Yeah, absolutely. But for those of us who do rely on set lists, you typically wouldn't just make your initial set list. Well, two ways of doing it, right? You can make it on your computer. You can open up a text editor like a Notepad or Google Doc or something like that, and you just start listing out your songs in whatever order you want. And then when you're ready to make a second set list, you just skip a line. Skipping a line basically tells the software, hey, I'm going to go to a new set list. So that's how it knows, after I'm going to go ahead and go into jump. Oh, I went too far. I went back to American Girl. So I'll back up. But if I go into jump, what's kind of cool is, it's got the chords. And by the way, I've got color turned on for chords and for headers. Headers are like intro, chorus, bridge, that sort of thing. And so I've got those turned on just to make it pop a little bit more. But
yeah, and these are all,
so you can kind of see it.
Yeah, and these are all customizable, by the way, that you can customize the colors to your liking, whatever you feel like is the best color to represent a chorus or a verse or whatever, or you can just have the colors off if you want. You don't need to have the colors there. So whatever, you prefer, that makes it easy for you to read. We did get a question from Mark here. He said, how simple is it to upload the Ultimate Guitar app to this unit?
So the app itself is not, at this stage, is not directly compatible. But when we mentioned Ultimate Guitar, what you can do is open up a browser window. And of course, you'd need a mouse at this point to kind of navigate to it. But you'd open up a browser window, you'd go to Ultimate Guitar, you'd sign in, you'd pick whatever song you want, and then you'd hit the auto scroll feature. So I'm being a little technical by saying it's not an app per se. It's just accessing the Ultimate Guitar website through the black box interface.
Right.
So that is available now, and that's brand new functionality. We just released that this week. Now I will mention that this is portrait mode, so it goes up and down. It's not horizontal mode. It's not landscape. But Ultimate Guitar, their website's responsive, meaning it'll recognize that that it's portrait and it'll show accordingly. So that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, you can pull up Ultimate Guitar in your browser and use that in a pinch if you had to. So good question. But while I'm on this song Jump here, I was just going to get to the end of it, and let's go ahead and go to the end of it. And notice I got to the end of it, and that was the very last song of set 1, and now it took me back to my list of sets. So set 2. So this tells me, oh, okay, it's time for a beer break, right? So, but while we're on the songs, let's pull up another song. I'm going to go back to set 1 here. I guess we'll pull up American Girl. Why not? That's an easy one. Now, so I want to mention something that's unique, and I haven't seen this anywhere else in a prompter. Is this is the first floor monitor of its kind that supports transposing, and we've had customers where this really saved their butts having to transpose on the fly. So if you ever had to transpose on the fly, you're like, oh my gosh, it's in D, and they're like, oh, that's too high. I want to bring that down a whole step. I want to bring that down into C. All you got to do is you double click your pedal, and it's going to ask, hey, what key are you currently in? Okay. Currently it's in the key of D. So we're going to go down into the key of D. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag on my monitor. And then I'm going to go into, say it's D. Okay. It says, so the current key is D. What do you want your new key to be? Well, we want to bring it down a whole step. So I'm going to go left once. So now it goes from D to D flat, and I'm going to go left one more time. So now it brings it down to a whole step. And if I did this correctly, I'm going to hit enter. If I did this correctly, now those D's are now C's, and it's in the key of C. This is your, I forget the exact progression. If it's a 1-4-5,
that is super useful and practical, because I mean, I've been in this instance so many times where we're playing live and we're using a singer who has a particular range, and we want to do a song, but we need to change the key of the song. That happens all the time. And on a professional level, it's just also standard in many cases. You watch any of those singing competition shows, quite often they will sing a song that's not in the original key. So, but this happens all the time in the live venue, where you get a request for a song, we want to sing it, but we got to change the key. So boom, you have your solution right there, to make it easy to transpose.
Yeah, and another feature we added is it tells you what the next song is that's coming up. So you mentally you can prepare yourself. So this is the song ending, this is the song coming up, and then you just go right into it, and it'll pull up the next song.
Sheila asks, can you load in your handwritten songs from your lyric books?
Yes. So what you would do there is, because we support PDFs, you would just save it as a PDF file. I mean, you could take a screenshot of it or scan it or however, but just make sure it's a PDF file. And then this will read PDF files. In fact, let me show you guys an example. I have a PDF file. So whether it be sheet music, whether it be handwritten, absolutely, you can do all the above. So let me, I'm going to go ahead and go back all the way back, and then let's go to every song. And I do have a sample song that happened to be a PDF that I downloaded from, I can't remember if it was from Ultimate Guitar, or I think it was Ultimate Guitar that I downloaded it from, just as a PDF format, just to show. It was Tears in Heaven. And so I pull up Tears in Heaven. This is going to look different than the rest of them. So it just launched our PDF viewer. And so as you can see, it looks different. So you have your visuals and whatnot. So it does support PDFs, your graphical PDFs, as well as your text-based PDFs. Now, pros and cons, right? The nice thing about PDF is it's like an image. You see, well, actually is an image. It converts it to an image, but what you see is what you're getting. Now, the downside of that is auto transpose. That's not going to work on a PDF, right? Because it's a static hard-coded file, right? But the text-based examples that I showed, that will support auto transpose and the colorization and all that. But this is you go from page to page, and it launches each one accordingly. So awesome. Any other questions before I go into some of the other features?
Nothing new yet. Keep rolling.
Keep rocking and rolling. Okay, got quite a bit to cover here. So I mentioned every song. I mentioned how to we can create a set list directly on the box if I had my keyboard, which I don't have my keyboard on me because I gave it to you last night, Steve. I didn't bring an extra one, but you'll get the point. There's a way to create a set list directly. You can go and you can search for songs. So maybe you have thousands of songs on here and you need to do a quick search. You can certainly do that directly. Maybe you have thousands of set lists. You can search set lists as well. Delete songs, delete set lists. Now, number 8, this is brand new functionality. I touched on this earlier. We now have the capability to launch a web browser. It's similar to Chrome. And after you connect to your Wi-Fi, you can hop out to Ultimate Guitar. You can hop out to YouTube. I know a lot of DJs that just use YouTube as their go-to. If they don't have the special karaoke software, then you can hop out to YouTube and do karaoke that way. We do have a brand new piece of hardware that we've added to the box. It's a 1/8 inch headphone jack, and that gives you basically a stereo output for your speakers. So you can actually connect speakers to your black box. So I could see that be helpful for karaoke. I could see that be helpful for maybe you're practicing at home and you need to hear the music. And maybe you want to keep your computer separate, your business computer separate from your personal stuff. So now you can have a dedicated, black box where you can practice your music and still be able to hear yourself. So that's a brand new feature as well. We even support PowerPoints, which is kind of cool. But again, we're in portrait mode, not horizontal yet. Now we are going to be building a new, larger black box prompter next year that will be horizontal mode. But stay tuned on that. Right now, we're trying to address the most common need in the market, and that's the simple box that's up and down. Speaking of that, it's a 24-inch screen, by the way. So when you measure TV screens or monitors, it's from corner to corner. So 24-inch. So it's a pretty good size. And then we have up to 11 font sizes to choose from. So as we're getting older, if our vision's getting worse and worse, you could kind of find the sweet spot on which font works best for you. But you've got 11 different ones to choose from. Now, another new addition that came out pretty recently was our partnership with OnSong. If anybody's familiar with OnSong, they are the leading scrolling lyrics app, for lyrics, for chords. When the iPad first came out, they were one of the very first ones to market some sort of scrolling tool for musicians. And they have, I think, nearly 500,000 users. I mean, they're big time. And we've been very, very fortunate to enter in a partnership with them, where you can take your existing library of OnSong songs and set lists and easily transfer them to your black box prompter without having to reinvent the wheel. And it's pretty cool. I actually got to see this. We actually did a trade show recently with those guys, and there's a video. You can go out to their website, but it was really cool to see how the songs would trickle over, within seconds. It was really, really neat. So we're the first company to actually do a true integration like that with them. So that's also a very neat feature. Let's see, enable song editing and set list editing. Yeah, that's basically a toggle. If you had your keyboard and you needed to make tweaks to a song, you need to make tweaks to a set list, you would want to turn that on first before going in to make those tweaks. Okay. Wi-Fi. Yep, I mentioned this has Wi-Fi built in, and so if you were to buy a prompter, one of the first things you'll want to do is get connected to your Wi-Fi. Connect your keyboard, punch in your password. You only have to do that once. I mean, unless your password changes, but you do that once, and then it's locked in there for good. And then the next thing is to go down to update software, number 24 here, and then make sure you're running the latest and greatest. Because as Steve mentioned earlier, we are constantly making updates to this thing. And by the way, the updates do not cost a dime. They're free. So we're always trying to improve the technology, bug fixes from time to time, but really improve the technology and the functionality. So always recommend people try to have the latest and greatest. All right, better keep moving on. I know I'm speaking kind of fast here. I don't want to miss anything. Steve, so far so good?
Yeah, pretty good. Leo asked what the price point is, and we'll get to that at the end. And like I mentioned at the top, there's a special offer for Cover Band Central members. Tori's going to provide a coupon code at the end of this presentation. So if you want to hang tight, you'll get all that information at the end. But you can jump right to the website right now if you want to, check out what's available here. Blackboxprompter.com is where you can get everything. I did put a link in the description, so you can easily check that out and click it and check out the information. Sheila said, is there a way to make notations on the lyrics that are in your system?
Yes, there actually is. So let's go there. Let's talk about that. Great question, Sheila. We don't get asked that too often, but I want to actually show you what that could or would look like. So we know that the internet does a pretty good job, having the lyrics, of course, but sometimes you have your own notes that you want to have on your text files. So I'm gonna actually, sorry, I'm trying to talk and navigate at the same time, like walking and chewing bubble gum. So let's say Tennessee whiskey. I'm just pulling this up at random. Okay. Notice right here where chorus is in brackets. Anytime you put something in brackets, it tells the software, hey, this is like a note of some sort. We have reserved words for the colorization, like chorus, bridge, verse, that sort of thing. But anything in brackets, you can put your own notes and it will ignore it. Ignore it meaning it's not going to try to transpose or do anything weird. It's just an internal note for you. But I would put it in brackets, and then you're good to go. And you can do hard brackets or squiggly brackets, doesn't matter, either one. But yeah, that's how you make your notes. Now, in terms of like notation, if we're talking notation, like musical notation, that's when we go back to the PDF, and that's where that's a different animal because you have bars and different things. But at that point, you're looking at sheet music, and then that's when you use a PDF to scan that in. So Sheila, let us know if that answered your question. If not, happy to expand on it further. So, all right, let's see what else we got here.
I saw that one of the next things on the list there was the mirror mode, and that's something that's super useful if you want to talk about that.
Yes, good. I'm going to quickly mention Easy Load. Easy Load is actually coming in the near future. So I do want to step back and talk about, well, how do I get the files onto the black box prompter? And right now, you get your text files or your document files. You put them on a thumb drive. We include a free, it can be any thumb drive, but we include a free one for you. And we have folders, so any of your songs will go in your songs folder. If you have, PDFs that you scanned in or sheet music, you put them in a PDF folder. If you have your band logo, there's a folder called logos, so, but you put them on the thumb drive, you stick the thumb drive into the side of the black box, and it immediately recognizes it. You don't even have to hit anything. It'll immediately recognize, hey, there's a thumb drive in here, and it's going to start importing everything on that thumb drive. And it'll if you made changes offline, it'll make sure you have the latest and greatest. So it'll overwrite the old file with the new file if it's called the same thing. But right. All that's transferred through a thumb drive currently. Now, Easy Load is a feature coming soon where we take the thumb drive out of the picture. So a lot of us have our charts or our lyrics files on a Google Drive or a Dropbox somewhere on the cloud. So Easy Load is a feature that's going to allow us to connect to the cloud and transfer those files from the cloud down to your black box prompter. No thumb drive needed. Not available yet, but I would expect probably by January, February, it would be available.
Right.
All right.
And then then the next thing down, mirror mode, is the thing that really excites me too, because if you want to use stuff that's on your phone, but you don't want to have that little screen, you could just mirror your phone to black box.
Correct. So we call this emergency mirror mode because once you go into mirror mode, you're at the mercy of your iPad or your iPhone, right? Your pedals aren't going to work, right? Because you're just mirroring your iPhone. But we have this enabled in the event maybe you get that request, your song's not already on the box, and you have to quickly look it up, and you want to just quickly mirror your phone. Yes, and Steve, you've actually used this in real life, the mirror mode feature?
I haven't used it. I mean, I've tried it, and it's super cool. I haven't used it in the gig, sphere, but yeah, I like that it's an option.
Yeah, and so when we call it emergency, again because all the other functionality kind of goes away, but use it in a pinch if you have to look up a song. And also, it's sometimes mirroring is not the most stable way, so I wouldn't make this a permanent solution. But if you had to quickly mirror, you could. But a lot of times Apple and the way the mirroring talks through the protocol, sometimes it gets there's a lag and that's more on Apple's side than it is our side. But if you have a good connection, it could certainly help you out in a pinch. But yeah, that comes with the box. By the way, guys, you don't have to go out and buy an Apple TV card thing. You don't have to buy a separate little box to make it talk to you, right? This is work. Your mirror mode is going to work right out the box. I mean, you have to connect on the same network, of course, But once you're on the same network and you're talking to your iPad or your iPhone, this will show up and it can help you out if you need it to. So, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, cool. Let's see. I'm just going to keep moving down the list here, guys. Show chords and lyrics. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. We have the ability to turn off chords. Maybe the singer doesn't want to see the chords. Maybe it clutters it up. You could go into the settings and have the chords turned off, if you have chord charts. So we could tell, because the software is smart enough to recognize where the chords are located, and we can hide those chords. So that's again kind of a separate a differentiator. Let's see, smart scrolling. Smart scrolling is really auto scrolling, and right now we call it smart because when there's a solo, an instrumental or guitar solo, no lyrics are being sung. And so instead of it continuing to scroll upwards, the software is smart enough to recognize, hey, there's a solo, pause for a second. Don't keep scrolling the lyrics. If I'm not singing the lyrics, pause for a second. Then, and after a few seconds, then it picks back up. And so it has that feature to where it's intelligent. So it doesn't get you don't get off track. And there's 5 speeds. You can incrementally increase it by 20% or decrease it by 20% to at least get in the ballpark of what that auto scroll feature looks like. Right now, November 2024, our scrolling is admittedly a little on the choppy side. So we don't have a lot of folks using the scrolling yet, but we are going to be coming up with an upgrade soon to where it's going to be smoother, like you see in karaoke or movie credits, that sort of thing. So that will be coming down the pike soon. Let's see, font size. I mentioned, I'm just going to quickly go into font sizes. I said there's 11 font sizes. For simplicity's sake, we just use t-shirt sizes. So right now the default is large, which is a 30-point font. Let's go up to, I don't know, let's go up to 5XL. Let's see what that looks like. All right. It should take me to my initial startup screen after it reboots. There it is. And again, this is the screen that you can swap out with your own band's logo. Now let's see if you can tell the difference. Can you tell the difference?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For demonstration purposes, this is actually pretty good. Now you guys can really, depending on how big your screen is, you can make out what the heck the screen says. So the point being is, yes, you can get, and we can go even bigger than this. Now the trade-off is the bigger the font, the fewer words you can fit on a screen, right?
Sure.
So you just want to try to play with that and find the sweet spot.
Right.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'm going to keep going. Smart scrolling's off. Font sizes, color settings we've covered. Wireless sync. Yeah, this is also a unique feature to us. So I mentioned if you have multiple people in the band who want to take advantage of the black box prompter, maybe you play for a church and you have other church members and they want their own box, but you want everybody to stay on the same page, So you can have your band leader or your worship director or whoever's in charge. You could have that person be the controller, and then the rest of them are going to act as receivers, meaning one person changes the page, it changes for everybody all at the same time. So everybody is synced up. Now, we call it wireless because we're using a hotspot connection that we create. You don't even need internet access for this, guys. It creates its own local hotspot to connect your other boxes wirelessly. So pretty cool feature. And you can even switch it up. Remember earlier I was talking about showing and hiding chords. When you have folks that are synced up wirelessly, you can have your band leader have the chords hidden, and you got your guitar player where the chords are shown, but yet everybody's staying on the same page. Okay, not everybody has to have the same font size to be able to do that, so it doesn't get off track. But you can have kind of their own flavor, if you will, and keep everybody in sync at the same time.
All right, it's excellent.
Yeah, pretty cool feature. Startup image. This is, as I mentioned, this is where you can change out your image. You can upload many and cherry pick which one you want to want to do. Page prompts. This is sometimes we have this shown. These are kind of helpful tips. Right now I have them hidden, but those are just helpful tips to navigate. Oh, and we have a brand new feature. Like this was just released yesterday. You can now, let's say you make a bunch of changes to your songs or your set lists on the box, and you want to back them up. We now have a way to do that. You can actually back those up to your thumb drive, which is pretty nice.
Make it idiot proof.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, we had a customer, a brand new customer. I think it was Joe from New York. He had asked about that, and like 2 days later, we had it built. It was ready to go. And I mention that because that's a good example of how we do listen to our customers. We try to build this thing as bulletproof as possible, but we're going to miss the mark here and there. But the real world feedback that we get from you guys, we're going to take it to heart, and we're going to listen and say, hey, do we think this is something that everybody can benefit from? And if so, then yeah, we're going to see, what's the level of effort? Can we do this without it costing an arm and a leg? And this is a great example. It's like, hey, how do I back up my song? He's just like, oh yeah, we should totally have a backup feature. And then bam, 2 days later, it was built, ready to go.
There you go.
So that's just an example there. Update software, again, free updates. You'll want to be connected to Wi-Fi or to the internet to be able to pull down the updates, of course. But again, you hit it and it fetches the latest files. It can take, depending on what update you're doing, sometimes it can take a minute, sometimes it can take several minutes. But just know that you'll have the latest and greatest when you do that. Let's say you have a bunch of clutter, or maybe you're selling your box and you don't want to give them all your stuff. You want to give them a clean version, then you can do a factory reset. And then we have items 26 onward. We just have some instructions on like how to mirror, how to import songs, how to colorize. And so, of course, you can always go to the website, and we have an FAQs page there as well. And then we're going to continue to add to our support page. So we have a knowledge base of information. But a lot of times if you're in a pinch and you just see like, how do I do this? We have some help files that you can get into. And then
I love that they're right there. I love that those instructions are right there while you're using the unit. Like, okay, how do I do this? And your instructions are right there. You don't have to go look it up somewhere else, and whatever. Makes it easy.
Yep, exactly. So, and then we do have a link to our on how to get in touch with us. So we are a small team. So sometimes it's going to be me, or it might be my business partner that you'll be talking to. And we'll take your questions very, very seriously and answer them, because we want to make sure that you're prepared and you're confident and everything's working exactly the way you expect it to. Let's see, show features. I think this is what we do. This is when we have like a demo at the store. It lists out the some of the features. We also have a referral program. So for anybody that's really well connected in the scene, and you think, man, this would, I know so many people that would like this. I'd like to sell on your behalf. We have an affiliate program where you can earn a commission for every box that's sold. So we can certainly, you can go to a referral program and talk about that. And then lastly, we have, of course, the safe shutdown. So can you manually turn off the box without doing this? Yes. But just like a computer, it is a computer, you want to shut it down gracefully. You really should go in and click safe shutdown and then power it down that way. So that's really the best way to go about it. But guys, that's really it. I mean, I try to cram as much of the functionality in that I could before within the hour that we have. But I just want to open the table up for any more questions that anybody has. And since you guys were patient enough to stick with us this long, I do want to extend a special offer to Cover Band Central fans. But before I do that, Steve, did we have any other questions?
Nothing new, but there is a delay on this, so you gotta give it a minute here. As we live stream, there's about a 30-second delay, so give it a minute. But you can continue as any questions come in. I will forward them to you. We'll pull them up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I'm going to go back to the presentation for a minute. So, I do want to call this out that we do have some features that you're not going to find anywhere else. And, when I talk about being able to open up a browser, connecting to the internet so you can pull up YouTube or Ultimate Guitar or whatever lyric site you want to pull up in a pinch, you'll now be able to do that. Creating and editing your set lists on the fly, directly on the box, you can do that now. Transposing, we talked about. We mentioned connecting a speaker. synchronizing wirelessly, viewing sheet music. Our goal is to one day replace the music stand even, because even music stands are still kind of a pain in the butt, and you have to reach over and turn the page. So this makes it much easier using your foot pedals. We talked about the shatterproof shield. And then, of course, the OnSong. For those of you who use OnSong, we make it very easy to move your songs over. So when people are like, well, how are you different than some of the other players out there? Well, this is just kind of a quick comparison chart to show you the difference. So